Long day, 24 hours, just no sleep, doing my body, my brain doing what they do. This is something that I like, just kind of like a video live discussion thing. I wanted to do um, anyways, and I've been thinking about it, and then the timing of this just kind of worked out um, with I was supposed to have a therapy appointment coincidentally, and that got kind of canceled at short notice. So I'm like ready to talk about mental health, and don't have the same avenue of talking about it. Um, so I know that I talk pretty freely about my mental health, specifically about bipolar disorder. I know that a lot of the times when I'm talking about it, I'm in like the midst of like some kind of mental health chaos, right? And so it's like I feel like one of the things I wanted to focus on is like mental health matters and it's important to talk about even when things are not bad. In fact, I would say it's even more important to talk about when things are not bad because you can develop and strengthen your skills on how to deal with bad shit when like you can develop those skills so much more easily when things are not popping off. So it's kind of where I wanted to go with this whole conversation and kind of open up the floor for people to feel safe to talk about things that they needed to. Also, I would like to consider myself an old pro at the mental health care system. Um, and having been in the mental health care system for over 20 years now, I often forget that I was in the mental health care system before I got diagnosed with bipolar. Hey, Lori, welcome in. Anyone who wants to come up and have the conversation about just general mental health care and mental health with me can. I'm going to put the link in the chat, but don't feel obligated to do that. This is not a obligation. Um, I wasn't expecting to be awake right now fully. Well, I was expecting to have my therapy appointment right now and then, um, you know, go to sleep. So the fact that I'm awake and kicking is uh, it is what it is. um, Join me on the panel. Can't do two things at once. If you want. Hey Zach, welcome in. I'm putting the link to the panel if you want to come up and talk just about mental health in general. I know a lot of us deal with mental health struggles, each of them very unique to us. Um, and I kind of said this at the beginning of the live, but I know I talk a lot about my own mental health struggles and everything, and I'm pinning that uh, link if anyone wants to come on. But oftentimes when I talk about it, I'm in kind of the midst of like some kind of mental health crisis or something like that. And I feel like it's important to talk about things when they're not that bad or when you have like a little bit of stability, the ground's underneath you a little bit, because it's a lot easier to develop skills on how to deal with things when they're not so good when you are stable so that you can deal with those times that do get more challenging. Um, I've so uh, I've been getting some kind of mental health care for, like I said, over 20 years. I think like 22 years if we're trying to nickel and dime it. Um, and because I had, I was visibly having problems early on in my life. Um, and to everyone, like everybody knew your TMS got rescheduled for today. I might be able to join in a bit if you go finish putting this room back together. Oh, absolutely. Do what you got to do. I have no idea how long this live will be, but you're welcome to join at any time. And that's it pretty much goes for all lives for both you and Zach. You're always welcome. I don't always I don't usually think to put the link out, but anytime you want to join me, just let me know. Um, but again, no pressure to ever come up. So I think that like I'm actually in like kind of a little bit of a confusing mental health place myself right now, um, because I'm there's a lot going on that I'm like, oh, you caught a cold. I'm so sorry, Zach. Oh, I hope you feel better. You just everybody's just been getting hit after it lately. It just can't catch a break. Um, but but there's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, and I'm not emotionally reacting to it in the way even close to what I would normally react to it. And I find that that's also how's my audio, because I know my voice is a little raspy right now. So if you need me to put the headset on, I can do that. Um, but I'm like kind of not like emotionally like caught up to everything going on in my life. I think maybe is what's going on. Is why I'm not like kind of like I haven't fully calibrated for all of that stuff. Um, so or maybe I'm really coping well. Like that's a thing that people do, right? And so I think that there's a possibility that I'm coping better than I normally do in a lot of ways. And it could be, both are true, that I'm kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop and I'm coping better. Um, Very possible. Um, so um, I guess I think that like one major thing about this channel that I love and I hope to like continue to foster is like that this is like a safe place for people to talk about their mental health. Um, I never want it to just be like this is my channel, so I talk about my feelings and everyone else can just shut up and listen to me. Like that's never what I want. I don't think that that is. That's just not what I want. I like everything to be a conversation between us, and so whenever people do want to share, I think that it's it's made such an opportunity for us to like work together to talk about these things that I don't know. I know for sure, I can speak for myself that I know that I wouldn't have the opportunity to talk with people on the same level about the things we talk about otherwise. I don't know if I said that right, but like, um, I think that this channel I know has been very healthy for me to be able to talk about things, but also to, hear what other people are going through, and we can commiserate and we can, help each other out. And I think that that's really important, because I don't subscribe to any kind of like shut up and suffer in silence. Like to me, that is the most dangerous way to approach mental health, physical health, just to not share any part of it. And like, sure, there's the opposite end can be, just as dangerous, I guess, to you. It's to overshare. And I'm probably guilty of like oversharing, um, to some degree, or, to every degree. But I don't think that like it's healthy at all to bottle things up and never talk about them, because I've seen so many times and I've experienced so many times where like that's just been the wrong move. And so I really like that we have a community here, um, that we can talk about that. And I hope that we continue to build that safety feeling, that safe feeling. On the 31st of March, you go to the lung specialist. I know you've been waiting so long to go to the lung specialist set. So I'm really, really glad that you get to go to see them. And I'm sure that, your lungs being compromised from everything you've been going through has definitely, made you get sick easier and everything like that. Um, but yeah, like I I know that it's easier said than done when you've been conditioned your whole life to say like, "Hey, just don't bottle it in." I hope I never seem like dismissive of people or like I hope I don't minimize the challenge that it is to change habits like that. Um, because I know that pretty much everyone was raised on like, you know, just, don't talk about it, deal with it yourself, like whatever, whatever. And like, I think that breaking those habits, um, like those are really challenging habits to break. Um, but I've seen so many times where um, like when people are able to start talking about their feelings and working through things. Sorry, Scotty's trying to like unravel a ball of yarn, which is very cute. If you're like, oh, he's a kitten in yarn, but then you're like, I use yarn to do things, so like, don't do that. Um, but lost my train of thought. Um, Hey Winter, welcome in. I have pinned the link to come up in the panel if you want to. I'm inviting everyone who wants to talk. If you don't want to talk, that's totally fine. I'm just talking about like general mental health care. No, I keep saying mental health care, but mental health and just like um, right now I'm just talking about why I like that we've created such a safe environment for people to be able to talk about their own experiences with mental health and how they can, like, people are free to talk here about it. Zach says, go to 3 different floors at the hospital. The first one is for the chest x-ray, second for pulmonary tests, and then 6-minute walking tests. The last part, I see the doctor. Your hubby is from the UK. Teaching him to talk about his feelings was quite foreign to him. Okay, yeah, definitely cultural differences are a big thing. Um, Social differences, a lot of men experience where they're raised where they can't. They're just, and this is again just generalizations, but they're raised where they can't talk about their feelings with anyone, with their friends, with family. A lot of people in general are taught that like you don't go see a therapist, you deal with your problems yourself, or find a close friend, and that's that's the only person who knows about your problems, and then everyone, yeah, no problem, Winter. I'm sorry you're having a headache. Um, and so I think that like that's a huge struggle that so many people fight with is this like internal like because like the voices from that we hear on the outside about keeping our feelings in, um, not talking about our feelings. I feel like those morph into the voices in our head, and we can't distinguish between other people's voices and our own, and then we start to internalize all of that. Um, you feel judged by many when I talk about my feelings, so I bottle it in. Yeah, I understand that side. I think that like for me, I mean, I'm such a blabbermouth that like I sorry. Pause please. Someone's calling. I have no idea who it is. Sorry, that was aforementioned therapist. Okay. Um, I will catch up really quickly. Um, Winter says, and then you get to hear Scotty covering his poop. I refuse to let haters shut me down for real because mental health is important. Absolutely. Not too long ago, Michael tweets, is that the library guy? Was bullied on Threads for sharing about his ideation struggles and called manipulative for it. Yes, I so many people try to share their stories about mental health, and then people are just cruel online. And I think that's why knowing when you have a safe community where you can where you can talk about these things is so important. And like, um, props to them for communicating. Okay, Scotty, yeah. Um, Mental health is as essential as physical health, but no one will talk about it. And exactly, and a lot of like, and your physical and mental health are so interconnected as well. I mean, if you struggle with a lot of physical pain, it's really hard to mentally, like, and emotionally keep yourself stable because your physical. Oh, my throat's itchy because it's so uh you know sorry, train of thought. Yes, but people are terrible, generally speaking. But I hope that we can create a place where like yeah, and um, people can put spoiler alerts. They can put trigger warnings. They can do whatever, and like people will still have something to say. Like the thing is, negative people are going to be negative, and I think that that's what you have to factor in to a lot of things. Like you know, um, if you know that people are going to be judgmental, whether you say A or B, then like we have like part of your journey has to be saying, well, these people are going to be judgmental no matter what I do. I can't live for those people. And really, you can't live for anybody but yourself. But sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes the only thing, to kind of dive in deep real quick, sometimes the only things that keep you going are other people because you can't hold on to yourself. That's not tangible yet. So you need other people. But the goal, is to be able to, yes, he's such, um, uh, he's such a floof. Um, but, you know, there's definitely been times in my life where like I just couldn't, there, like, if it was like, you know, you're doing that, you should do this for you. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if I disappoint myself or I'm already disappointing myself or, whatever feelings I have towards myself are already very negative. But if you're like, do this so that these people that you love won't feel this certain way, um, then, then that was enough at that time, and in the future, I could work towards doing it for myself. But sometimes, long story short, sometimes if that's what you need to do to get through the day, then that's okay to do. But the ultimate goal that I think we should all strive for is doing things for ourselves and our own happiness and everything. But um, I like, and Zach, I don't want to call you out, but I hear you, and I'm using you as an example just because I know all of us feel it to a certain degree, and I know you've been vocal about it, and so I think it's very important to talk about that you've faced a lot of bullying and you faced a lot of people being judgmental towards you, and that has had a strong impact on you, if I'm, assuming correctly by things you've said. And those people who are nasty like I said, they're just gonna be nasty. Like they're just nasty people, and like it's the way I started. I started changing my thinking, and I don't know if this helps you. You know, it's like those people are unhappy, and that's their problem. And I feel bad for them, but I can't let them run my lives because the way that they're running their lives is to make other people feel bad so they feel artificially better. And to me, that is no way to live. In my book, that's not how I roll. And so, but all of that said, all of that bullshit I mean, all of that very profound wisdom I just said doesn't mean like it like doesn't mean that it's easy to stop thinking that way. And I want you to know that like I don't think it's easy to stop thinking that way. Hey Perry, welcome in. We're talking about mental health. Hey Bridget, welcome in. We're talking about mental health. Feel free to join the conversation as much or as little as you want. I have the link to come up if you want to come and talk about mental health. We're just talking about it all, just kind of general stuff because talking about mental health is something that is so important to me. I share a lot of my mental health journey on here, but I never want it to be a one-sided conversation. I always want dialogue. And also, I feel like I usually only share stuff when like things are bad. And I think it's important to talk about mental health when things aren't bad because it's easier to develop skills to cope with the bad shit when you're not in a bad place. It's a work in progress. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all works in progress. It's not like I care about how people feel. And sometimes it's overwhelming to deal with the trolls, all the trolls at once. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you can just like trolls just roll off your back. Like you don't give a shit. And then like the general you. And then sometimes like there's just like something that someone says or like, and it's just like it gets under your skin. It gets to you. And I wish it wasn't that way, but like we're only humans, and I think if nothing ever permeated the show, I think that would be really unrealistic for us being humans that are trying to connect with other people. Um, they can sense that you are getting worked up, and yeah, some people literally just like play with like people's emotions, like a cat trying to like. You ever seen a cat try to kill something? They torture it, like they freaking torture it usually, like, and that's how people do sometimes. And those people are shitheads. And the sooner you can identify them as a shithead, I think the easier it is to be like, I'm not gonna let this shithead ruin my day. But sometimes that shithead gets under your skin so much that you start focusing on what they said to you and how that affects you rather than the problem really being external from you and internal for them, which sounds like a whole lot of not my problem right now. It's not my job to fix other people. Now, if they want to have a dialogue, chit chat, we talk like stuff like that. Um, yeah, and you raised a good point, Winter, about like when you are like creating like videos and stuff like that, how like the the people in your audience like will interpret certain things, and that puts a whole new spin on how we have to deal with things, and it's annoying. And I don't think that there's any explicitly right way to deal with things like that. I just think that like we're all just doing our best, and I think that there's one type of there's many different modalities of therapy, right? So there's cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. There's dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. There's internal family systems, IFS. Like there's different ways. And basically, everyone's kind of trying to work on the same thing, but they're working on it in different methods, right? And so I spent a lot of time working in DBT. And in DBT, it has this really, so it was developed by this woman named Marsha Linehan, who has borderline personality disorder. And she felt like the CBT like method that was a little bit older, she was like, it's not quite doing what I need it to do for borderline people. So she developed her own therapy method called DBT. And so it's a lot more how to deal with emotions in the moment and things like that. Um, and it's also very mindfulness based. So kind of, you know, not thinking ahead. There's this quote that's like, depression is living in the past, and anxiety is living in the future, and mindfulness is living in the moment. Which is really beautiful if you experience both depression and anxiety, right? You're like, just meet in the middle. But one of the principles of DBT is that everyone is doing their best at any time. And I feel like when I heard that and really absorbed it and shaped it to what I needed that phrase to mean, it meant a lot about, you know, it informed me of like people who had traumatized me. Like, were they like were they doing their best and maybe that was just really bad? Yeah. Me, when I'm spiraling out, am I doing my best even if it's really bad? Yeah. And it really reshaped a lot of things for me. Um and so I really think that like when we think about like, oh, like how we reacted to a troll or something like that, and it's, we get, I know personally, thank you, Scotty. I get frustrated, um, and I can give you some material on DBT. It's really great for some people, and some people don't love it. So um, I can definitely share some stuff with you, depending on kind of what uh, type of stuff that how you like to kind of learn things, because like DBT can be taught in like um, a like a group therapy type of way, but it's more like a workbook study group, um, and that's accompanied by like a DBT therapist, DBT informed therapist. There's all different types of things, but I could also just show you some like kind of principles of DBT, because for me, like, it's been really helpful with how I deal with um, like my big spikes in emotion, that I didn't find that I was getting elsewhere. Uh, but I think that like us being fair to ourselves about when we're doing our best, because we can always go back and criticize and say, well, we should have done this, we could have done that, like blah 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 blah. But you were doing your best, and so it's acknowledging what was, but saying, let me learn from that and move forward. Giving yourself feel difficult feelings. Absolutely. That's a really hard thing to do. Okay, thank you, Scotty. It's okay to be angry and express that, but I can also choose how I react to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's such a huge thing, is like, all emotions are valid. It's how we, you know, can I react to it and use it in a, like, I was gonna say constructive or destructive way, but I don't even think that's fair, because it's kind of on a spectrum, right? Because like for me, I'm like, well, I know that I can get angry and I can go to like, if I'm going from like -10 of like constructive to like 10 +10 being destructive. I don't, that probably should have mixed, but whatever. But if I know that I could do like a 10 level destructive behavior when I'm angry, or I could do a 2 level destructive when I'm angry, well, that's an improvement. I can always aim for something more constructive. However, I can also focus on the fact that I've improved. And it's not like every single time you're going to get better, because you're going to have times where you react a little worse. And I think that that's also something that, like, I feel like healing from anything, period, it's like so often we make all of these beautiful strides forward and we're doing so much better. And then we have a little hiccup in the road where we maybe don't react as well as we had previously. And we feel this like tremendous setback when really that's part of the healing journey. Like it's not this like clean linear line. It's gonna be bumpy. It's just, is it trending upwards? And yes, it's hard not to should all over ourselves. And yes, yeah, don't should yourself. Yeah, that's a common phrase in treatment. Don't should yourself. Um, yeah, because I really tried to like eliminate as much of like those like shoulds and coulds as I can, because they're not serving me. Like like that phrase of like, does this serve me, has also been really helpful to me. Am I getting preachy? If I'm getting preachy, just tell me, y'all. Like, I don't want to be like that. I just wanted to talk. But like, if I'm like, I keep saying like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, does it actually fix anything? Does it make me feel worse? Do I do worse things after it? I got out of a really rough patch recently and still get a lot of lows. And that's like, it sucks. It sucks. And it sucks that it is like that sometimes, but it's also not necessarily a setback, right? Because we're constantly, like you said it earlier, like it's I'm trying to think of the exact words you used. You didn't say it's a journey, but you said something to the effect of like a work in progress. Like we're works in progress. And that's important to know. It's just about trying to be better like than you were yesterday. And if you can keep making those micro steps forward, even if you end up not being better than you were yesterday, at least you tried, and at least you tried to put a data point that was higher up on the map. Even if you didn't quite make it today, you still have the opportunity to make it tomorrow. And that's important, I think. I feel like if you, and I don't know how well you all can see it, trauma trigger, and that's a big thing, is like the way we react to trauma and like how we move through getting triggered, how we move through the recovery processes after we're triggered. That is such a, like, I don't think that a lot of us give ourselves some like the credit that we need, because like if we look at how we reacted a month ago, a year ago to a similar trigger, like if like, and sometimes that you can't really compare it, they're different situations, but you know it's those things aren't setbacks. You just have to do our best. I'm petting a kitty chin. Little kitten chin. Little kitten chin. Yeah, and trauma, and like trauma can also, like, sometimes that trigger can happen and it hits you at like a 4 in like the ouchies, And sometimes it's a full-on 10. Sometimes it's off the scale. It's a fucking 25 out of 10. And, I think that, and it's not even about how bad the trigger was, it's about how it affected us. And that's like, so that's the thing. And I think this definition of trauma really helped me understand me and my family's relationship with trauma, and my family's details much because that's their business. But I have a very different trauma response than other people in my family who've experienced similar things. And I was always kind of like, well, I was kind of like, what the fuck to me? And I was also like, also everyone in my family was like, what the fuck to me? They're like, why are you so fucking fucked up? And we're not that fucked up. And so trauma was redefined to me within the past year or two as trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is how you responded. So two people can experience the exact same thing. One person can come out fine because they somehow coped in a different way, and the other person can come out traumatized. And it doesn't mean anything about the people themselves. It's just how our brains took that event and made it into something. And so it's and one thing that, oh my gosh, with trauma, there's so much with trauma, so much, right? One thing that I feel like was really important, an important learning lesson for me, because I did this a lot for a long time, was comparing my trauma to other people's. And so I was invalidating my own trauma because it wasn't as bad as other people's. And like, obviously you can hear a story and you can be like, that is horrific. Like, that's horrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you. But just because someone else experienced trauma doesn't mean that in your lane you're not allowed to experience trauma from what you experienced. And so I think that that's something that I've noticed with a lot of people, and I don't know if you guys can relate, or you all can relate. Sorry. Where like you minimize your own experiences because someone else has it worse, or you minimize your depression because someone has it worse. And it's so easy to do that. And I think that is a really damaging thing as well, because the more we minimize it, the less likely we are to say, hey, this is bad enough for me to want to deal with it and get through it. The thing is, our response to the trauma is not going to go away if we don't deal with it, in my experience. I fucking wish it would. I wish a motherfucker would. But that's not how any of my trauma has been. So working through it has been important. I'm reading the comments, Winter, not going to comment that happened when I see the movie and I talked about it. Yeah. It's more about how it affected me. Lori, right, and it can blindside you. Absolutely. Usually it does, right? Like, it's never, more times than not. Because the more prepared you are for it, the less, like, blowback you feel, right? Sense of it all with a strong visceral reaction in the moment and giving myself space to realize it's okay. Absolutely. I think I'm so glad that you're able to do that, Winter. Because that's important. Yes, with medical stuff. Oh yeah, someone always has it worse than you. Does that mean it doesn't fucking suck for you? No, because someone's looking at you going, they have it worse than me. I'm not gonna feel bad about myself. Your therapist talks to me about this issue nearly every session. Yes. I mean, so like, I kind of, I feel like I shared my kind of 2 cents about the comparison game and how I just had to be like, you know what, both valid. But like, if you were, I'm just, this is kind of becoming a therapy session. Sorry. But like, if like you were in an ideal situation going to figure out how to not have that feeling of, well, they have it worse, I can't feel this way, like, what would be like the ideal way to deal with that? I also like hearing other people's kind of ways of processing and dealing with things too. But me, I have to be very logical. I think it's logical. I kind of logic my way through a lot of my therapy, because if I do that, then I can't like wiggle my way out of it, because I can wiggle my way out of a lot of situations. Justify and explain yourself. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you have an invisible illness, especially if you have chronic illness, you're trying to explain how much pain you're in, how much discomfort you're in, how things might be connected, your symptoms. That's very difficult. Medical stuff is very difficult. And I don't think that people who have, I don't think people who don't have medical issues like that understand without a lot of like exposure or, talking to it. Cause I know, I'll be honest, like I'll just say not really. Like I didn't really have any physical medical problems um, in my adulthood, and being with someone who was chronically ill, I there was so much I didn't understand, and things I took for granted. I learned about spoon theory, which spoon theory is also really fucking fantastic for mental health. And if you don't use spoon theory and you struggle with mental health issues, I strongly suggest maybe giving that a try, seeing how that helps you disperse your mental energy as well. Rationalize emotions and tuck it away in a corner. That's fair. That's good that you know what works for you. And what works for you? What works for you, honey cat? This is Toothless. He's like, get away from me. He's so sweet though. How am I not supposed to kiss him? How am I not supposed to kiss him? I feel like in the past, like I know that all of you have known me for longer than a year and a half, but I don't know if you know the true magnitude of mental change that I've been through in that time. Um, it started when I came, like, the changes had started to kind of come in as I came to California. And I was at a point, one of my lowest points, adjacent to my lowest point. And I knew that if I did not radically change everything about my brain and its wiring, that I would not be around. Lori said, I know my first step is to actually acknowledge how much this crap is impacting me. I have chills, Lori. I have chills. I think you're totally on the money. If you don't mind if I add a little bit to that, because I think that if you did that alone, I will say that I know that when I did that, because I did that, that put me in a little bit of a free fall, right? Like no parachute. Okay, I realize I'm fucked up. I realize everything fucking, like, this is me. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Like I'm fucked up. I'm damaged. I'm a piece of shit. I was falling and I was approaching the ground quickly. That's what that particular, like, how my brain hears that. That's how it worked for me. So I there like I guess there's a couple ways you could end that sentence to kind of hello. He's like, you could end it like this. Um, so like you acknowledge how much it's impacting you, and like it doesn't have to mean that I can't have a good life, and it doesn't have to mean that my life is over. And it doesn't mean that it's only going to continue to get worse. I had a better one at the beginning when I started that fucking rant or fucking speech or whatever. But like you acknowledge how much it impacts you, and and you say it's okay that I'm impacted like this, but there's a way I can move through it. Basically, like the moral of the story is like it doesn't mean end game because the shit's fucking rocking you right now, you know? And I think that that's like the thing is like, because for me, when I felt that way, it's like, okay, I am so hurt and destroyed and devastated that I am nothing inside. And what's the point of sticking around, you know? And like, I know that gets like super, dark, but like, I think that like when I say that kind of stuff, again, my brain is like hella dark. But when I say that kind of stuff to myself, I have to start putting some kind of like, well, there's got to be some way to like pull up on the, whatever stick that, you know, pilots have or whatever. You're not just careening towards the ground. Yeah, that works really well for a lot of people. How much you're able to do despite of it, I or in spite of it, like that works really really well for some people. I I think that like I think that like another way that I was in that spot was when I became disabled, which is pretty similar, I think, to kind of where you are, you know, um, I, as far as I know. Um, but the grief process that I experienced, I was so unaware that that's what I was going through that just like call me the hot mess express because that's what all I was fucking doing was just crashing and burning, over and over and over again because I kept on thinking that I had gotten through the grief, but I was in another stage of the grief. Need to not mask the hell out of your challenges. Yes, it's hard. And it's hard to just accept this new state of being because, it's hard to be able to do something, be functional, and then move to a whole different plane of like, I'm not functional in the same capacity. And for me, that was that process of grief needed to be acknowledged, um, because I didn't feel like people had talked to me about the grief that you can experience from that kind of loss. And I feel like I just blew up my life in that labeled and actually being disabled. Absolutely. Reclaiming some things that were taken from me, and that sounds ridiculous. No, I totally. I think that's really important, Winter. I think that reclaiming what you need to reclaim and feeling control over things. I hope that's the right word. I think it's the right word, but if it's not, let me know. But feeling, being able to gain control over the things that were taken from you, and that feeling is so important for people. And I know specifically for um, survivors, um, but in general, I think that that's important. About triggers or memories. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're totally right, Winter. When it you know it's yeah, no one tells you about the grief, and yeah, and so it's very hard, and it does impact us all um, mentally as well. Uh, well, most of us. I've never met a person who it didn't impact, um, but um, people who became disabled or became differently abled in the sense that their function became more limited. My ex was a very big fan of the guy and talked about I like picture the way it kind of rubbed me. Hmm. I can understand that. I mean, I don't know anything about him or the movie or anything. I don't know what fork theory is. Is that what's that? So, do any of you use spoon theory with your mental health? I mean, I don't consciously, but I think about like energy reserves and stuff like that. And sometimes I do pull out the language of like I have no spoons. Like or like I have spoons to listen and I don't have spoons to do anything else. What about you? You have some spoons? You a spoon cat? You spoon cat? I think Scotty might have some spoons. Scotty is also a traumatized boy. We got two traumatized boys here. But I should like yeah, that's complicated. I don't know the full extent of the complications, but I know that it's complicated. You started to recently using it with mental health stuff. Oh, that's good. The most forks are stuck in use, so to speak. Oh, that's such a beautiful visual. Just, like stick a fork in me, I'm done. I like that. I like that. Or like a fork in the eye, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. That's great. See, I learned something new every day. But but like I was saying earlier, in this kind of big transformation I've had with my own mental health, and like you've all seen it, to a certain degree. Like it's not been perfect by any means in the past year and a half, but it's gotten a lot better and more stable. I can only do so much with the chemicals in my brain, and that's a process. But um, I, and for me, like, I'm glad that medication is an option and does help me. I know that that's not the case for everyone. I know some people prefer to be unmedicated, and I didn't want this conversation to be all about medication or really at all about medication other than if you need it, take it. Like that's really kind of the extent of it. Because I feel like sometimes it all boils down, like all people want to talk about is like being medicated for mental health. And while that is a very valid part of healing and being stable for a lot of people, it is not the only part. You can't medicate yourself into a new personality. You can't medicate yourself into having new coping skills. You just can't. And so, like, no matter whether you incorporate that part or not, like, the real work has to be done by you mentally changing how you deal with shit. And that's hard as fuck because your whole life has been training you to deal with shit like you did when you weren't super happy with how you dealt with shit. Yeah, I understand. I understand. Yeah, if it's got a side effect, I pretty much get it. So I understand. But yeah, that's why I didn't want to have the conversation where it was only about that because I think that it's just not 100. It's never 100% of the picture. It's part of the picture for some people. For me, it's a necessary part of the picture. It's like not many people go through life stable with bipolar without medication. It's a reality. But, and like with my anxiety levels, like I can't function without anxiety meds. But also, I need to work on coping skills because I can't medicate myself to not feel any anxiety about anything. Also, a lot of emotions, they aren't implicitly good or bad. Like anxiety is not a bad thing. Like if a car is coming at you, like be anxious and get out of the way. you know? Like so it's like if you're sad, like if you experience a loss, like sadness is what you're supposed to feel typically, right? If it's a loss that you know of something that you're you know sad about, like it's those are so like emotions aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we deal with them. And you know whatever I was trying to finish that sentence with. um so but yeah, I don't, yeah, it's like if that's not the answer for you, medication for one reason or another, you're not automatically excluded from this conversation. Because like I said, like you can't, oh, you have to put in work with mental health regardless. And I think that was a big part of my young life is I was medicated, but I wasn't putting in the work. And I think it really showed in my behaviors towards others. I think it really showed in my behaviors towards myself. And I don't think I realized how bad it was because I was like, well, I was medicated. What, But that's because I wasn't looking around and perceiving what was going on. It's slapping my belly when I stop petting her. One migraine actually works in the impact of side effects. Neurofeedback and currently doing TMS because antidepressants and anti-anxiety are no go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have heard such good things about TMS and treatment resistant depression. Um, and I don't know much about it for anti-anxiety, but it's people seem to like love it for a lot of things. But pretty much a general rule for medications and treatments is if it works for depression, it will make bipolar worse. So a lot of things make bipolar worse, like literally everything. It's ridiculous. Your brain's like wired backwards when you have bipolar. Because I've been staying up late and the door has been closed, so I don't wake him up. I just let my hair air dry. I didn't like touch it or put like gel on it. It looks really bad, but yeah. So like for me, like they quadruple checked with me that I had no bipolar indicators. What is that? What do you mean bipolar indicators? Like meet the qualifications on the DSM, or that's interesting. I literally had a place that was so like fucking like lax because they just wanted to, well, like the person who scheduled you got like a commission, so like it was just like a receptionist who scheduled you, um, and so like they, like I was like, hey, I have bipolar. Is that gonna be okay? They're like, yeah, that's fine. And then like so like if you have bipolar two, so there's multiple types of bipolar. If you have like one, like if you have all but the type I have, you might be able to do it depending on the doctor. But like the one that I have, they're like, oh no, oh no. Okay, yes, DSM. I thought you were saying when you said bipolar indicators, I thought you meant like a gene or something, and I was like, they have those? I was like, that is new to me. I know that there's a genetic component to bipolar, but there's no like specific marker that they look at in the gene sequence. That's why I just, that's what my brain immediately went to, like they would check your genes or something. Yeah, that's good. It's great that they did those safety checks. When I went into the TMS, I went with my mom, and like, and I would like, she's they started saying, and they're like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I mentioned I was bipolar, blah blah blah, and she was like, as long as you're not bipolar one, and I was like, fucking A. I was like, I am bipolar one. We done here? like like there was nothing left to say. Just fucking let me go. You wasted my time. Got my hopes up. Um, but I I worked a lot in changing my mindset and my brain as much as, that's why I asked about the DSM, like for diagnostic criteria. Um, but it's just where my brain went with that sentence, that initial sentence, that I was curious. Um, but I've been working really hard, and I know everyone has their own individual struggles, and so what I worked on, what I did, is not going to be the answer for everyone. But I just wish that I could impart some of the peace that I've gained in this past year and a half that I've never had in my life to all of you, to everyone, honestly, because it's something that I did not think existed. I had intense feelings of self hatred my whole life. And like when doctors and therapists and anybody would ask about it, I'd be like, this has been my whole life. And I basically thought I was just born hating myself. And I realized that that very thought would end my life. And I truly believed that it would. if I kept going down that road. It was just going to be one bad night of having those thoughts that, you know, and I knew that I had to fucking fix that. And so if you can relate to that, maybe some of the things that I did will help you. And if you can't relate to that specific feeling that drives all of these other things, but there's this other core belief that you have, figuring out that core belief for me was life-changing, and figuring out how I could change it. And I went through it, I went at it in a million different ways. Yes, I'm much more grounded. I would say that, yeah, because the volatility that I experienced, I thought I was accepting myself. But then when things got really bad, I hated myself, you know? And there was such, I would forget that those times ever existed. And so now changing that core belief about myself really, really has made a difference. So, whatever that thing is, now I've done a lot of um, yes, undoing core beliefs is like, yeah, it's tough work, right? Because it's not just like a mild belief you have, it's literally called the core belief for a reason. But for me, um, Adult Children of Alcoholics was a really helpful program. You do inner child work. It's Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunction, I think most people fall into. It is a 12-step program. I know some people are very anti 12-step. I totally understand. Um, they do have like non-religious meetings and queer meetings, and just like every 12 step, they it fans out, and there's subsections of a subsects of every type of group in that. But they do a lot of inner child work, and I hated the idea of inner child work for a long time, and because I hated that kid, and I didn't know why. But all of those things really helped me realize that I only thought that I hated that kid for other reasons, and learning to love that kid and understand why I had built these mechanisms around them was really important. I also have a really fantastic workbook that I had started working through. I never finished it. I would love to finish it. Even though I don't necessarily have the same feelings, I still can always work on them. No, that's not the one. Okay, let's see. A lot of mine were centered around productivity, and so productivity, especially when you've moved to being disabled, is a very, very, very difficult core belief to move from. Socialization, as my family revolved that around a lot. Moral failing, not have paying, very physical job. And be able to develop such tight knit bonds with people. So this is a book that I got. One of the programs that I was in had like an alumni group and like a book club where they worked through this, and I had to stop because I went into a new treatment program. But it's called the Mindful Self-Compassion Workbook, and it's fantastic. It's fucking fantastic. If you are hard on yourself for any reason in the whole wide world, I think that this is an incredible book. It's a workbook, but it's just really beautiful. I'll write the name in the. Oh no. And I haven't looked. I can look now to see if it's on Hoopla, because they might have it for free. But even people, whenever I show this book to like any like therapist or someone, if they haven't heard of the book, they've heard of the author. And they're like, she's awesome. She does great work. So I would say if you're going to be compassionate to another person in your situation, why aren't you with yourself? Yeah, so like for me, I had when that particular question got posed to me before, I would just be like, I don't deserve it. I hate myself. I fucking suck. Like all of those answers. So I was, yeah, and that was, and I was cutting the conversation off. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. What are you talking about? I can extend compassion to everyone else, but I can't turn it inwards because I suck. Okay. Next. What's your next question? Like, there was nothing to follow up. Those feelings I had were so undeniable, and I couldn't question them to that point that I, that would end it. So, um, and like honestly, I know we're working on another book in book club, but if we want to do a concurrent book club where we do this, and I'll like, well, let me check Hoopla. But like, because I could just cover up my answers and like take pictures of like different chapters. Okay, let me see. So it's not on there. Other workbooks are. One for fun and one for inner work. Yeah, I think it would be really nice. There. Oh, I remember this like one. Okay, so this is one thing that really hit me. I'll just we can definitely. I'm super happy to share this with you all. But they did a like the 3 elements of self compassion, and so the first 2 are, I think, a little bit more obvious, right? It's self kindness. That makes perfect sense, and mindfulness. But then they have this third one in this Venn diagram, and it's common humanity. And how they define it is common humanity, a sense of interconnectedness, is central to self compassion. It's recognizing that all humans are flawed works in progress, that everyone fails, makes mistakes, and experiences hardship in life. Self compassion honors the unavoidable fact that life entails suffering for everyone without exception. While this may seem obvious, it's so easy to forget. We fall into the trap. Oh, wait, this is actually way longer. Sorry. We fall into the trap that things are supposed to go well and that something has gone wrong when they don't. Of course, it's highly unlikely, in fact, inevitable. In fact, it's highly likely, in fact, inevitable, that we'll make mistakes and experience hardships on a regular basis. This is completely normal and natural. But we don't tend to be rational about these matters. Instead, not only do we suffer, we feel isolated and alone in our suffering. When we remember that pain is part of the shared human experience, however, every moment of suffering is transformed into a moment of connection with others. The pain I feel in difficult times is the same pain you feel in difficult times. The circumstances are different, the degree of pain is different, but the basic experience of human suffering is the same. Hello, welcome in. I just you just came into a very weird part of our thing. We're talking about mental health, and I'm sharing kind of some of the things that have helped me over the past year and a half to like honestly just totally change my life and help me get to a place where I didn't think was possible. I wrote the book title here. This is it right here. I did other things. I went to adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. Went through a lot of treatment. Um, but like, isn't that what I just read? Like, I don't know if that rocks your world like it did me. But uh, I I felt like it like unlocked something because it's like, okay, be nice to yourself. Like, obvious, that's self compassion, but to think like you're connected and you're not alone because things are going wrong. In fact, things will go wrong, and that's what makes you a human. Like, that just for something about that is what I needed to hear at that time. And I think it's such a perfect part um, of how they teach self compassion um, with this book. Recently learned that a huge pile of whip I never finished, probably due to my CPTSD. And I was like, well, I could definitely see that. Yeah. PTSD can show up in almost every way possible. Like, it's like almost, I feel like almost any behavior you could be like, you know, like not necessarily that it is for you, PTSD behavior, but like, you can, it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like 6 degrees of PTSD. Like, you can really easily trace back a lot of behaviors to trauma um, behaviors, and yay, isn't it great that it doesn't let up? But you know, any anything that we've learned in life can be unlearned, and I think that's important to note. Um, and also, the more time you've had to learn something, if it was reinforced throughout your life, throughout your childhood or whatever, the longer you've had to experience that, the longer it's going to take to undo that behavior. It's easy to be like, this is how I was brought up, and so this is how we deal with things in my family. I want to change that behavior. Why can't I stop doing this behavior? It's like, well, you fucking did it for 18 years or whatever. scared of the consequences of finishing something, and our brains seek instant gratification. I can see that. I would say that my lips are a pure manifestation of ADHD. But that's how brains work. The same thing, we could have the same results, and we had two very different ways of getting there. And that's what makes it interesting from a scientific perspective, and difficult from a treating it and making it better perspective, right? Because it's not always easy to identify that that's what kind of leads to that. But yeah. So that's I have some ACOA books that I would happily share if anyone ever wants to see those. I have a couple of those, and I think that that's a really great way if you grew up in a dysfunctional family of any variety. And I did find a lot of help in that program as well, and a lot of things that I said this very frequently in meetings because I would hear someone share, and I'd just be sitting over there listening to them, and I was like, that motherfucker just shared my life story. Like, and not like, oh, I can relate. Like, no, like specific behaviors and shit that I was like, nobody in the world does this except my crazy family, and they're speaking them out loud in this group, and that would happen almost every meeting. I would constantly get my mind just blown by that shit, and so for me, that was a very helpful program. I think it's very helpful for a lot of people, but or it could be, it has potential to be helpful for a lot of people, but like with any program to ever exist, it's got to be something that you want to do. Crochet for over 20 years. Back up. Same mental messages we tell ourselves. Mm-hmm. We definitely are. We definitely are. And I think that, and I think that there's also important to note, and I hope I have kind of, when I talk about what works for me, and I try to share like, hey, I hope this could be helpful for you and stuff like that. Like, if it's not helpful for you, dump it. Like, that's been my thing since I started changing how I was thinking, is like, I'm not going to invest a lot of time into something that just like I try multiple times and it doesn't work, or I'm not get it, if it's making something worse, or it doesn't, like, I'm just not going to put a lot of effort into it. And if you're doing that to everything, maybe reevaluate how much time you're spending, and how much time and how much like open heart, like willing heart into it you're doing, right? If you're tossing everything, maybe kind of sit with that a little bit. But like, for example, there are some people who swear by positive affirmations, swear by them. I think that they are terrible. I think that they're the stupidest motherfucking thing I could ever hear in my whole life. I did hear that for a lot of neurodivergent people that they're not helpful. I heard that later on after I decided that they weren't going to be helpful for me anyways. But people were like, just look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're worth it. Some people that really, really works. Some people that work so well. I'm so happy for them. For me, no, no, no. So, like, I think that's an important factor too, is like when you catch wind of something that's just a fucking horrible fit, just let it go. Because it doesn't need to be for you. There's so many methods so that there is something for everyone, probably. But it doesn't. But like, it doesn't. Um, uh, yeah, like the people who can like tape a message to their mirror, like I'm so happy for them. But like yeah, I mean, it could be you need a safe space to actually believe them. I If you say, Ian, say something to yourself. Hold on one second, Ian. But if you say like, Ian, say something to yourself 5 times a day, and eventually you will believe it. My brain goes, I don't believe it, and you're trying to trick yourself into believing this. You just told yourself that you're trying to trick yourself. How do you think that's gonna work? Like my brain goes like, that doesn't make sense. I immediately like don't connect. It doesn't make sense to me. And game over. Like, I've never had a positive affirmation make a fucking difference for me. But but there are other people who can like do other types of work, and that really helps me. Like some people, like I said, some people don't really connect with DBT. DBT really connects for me. So, bet. But the video was specifically aimed to certain situations and was saying because your body is in survival mode. Yeah, when your body is in survival mode, you're not thinking because you're thinking with your hippocampus, which is in fight or flight, right? And so you're not capable of making complex decisions with your prefrontal cortex. I know quite a bit about the brain because I've been through treatment a lot of times and we talk about the brain a lot. But your prefrontal cortex is in charge of complex thought. And Malfoy is specifically the person. Yeah. Um, and you can't access that. You can't access logic. You can't access anything other than the simplest human emotions that kept us alive as, cave people, because that's what you need. Your brain is functioning at its basis, function, because that's what you need, or that's what it thinks you need, because our brain can think it's in survival mode when it doesn't need to be. So getting function back to the prefrontal cortex and being able to get to those places where we can, and that's, back to the very beginning of this live when I was talking about mental health, working on coping strategies and stuff like that. When you're not in a crisis is so important because you're not in fight or flight, and so you're not there, and so you can start working on skills so that you can stay in that logical, uh, you know that balance of like logic and emotion, part of your brain. So the brain is very interesting, but sometimes it's struggling. It's doing its best, just like we all are. But sometimes its best is like, do I need to, flee or it's powerful. There's one particular, like there's several DBT skills. Like DBT is about like usable skills that you can do, which I like. I like, give me a fucking checklist that I can go down. And so it's broken up into 4 pillars. So it's mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, emotion regulation, and distress tolerance. And so those last two, they the last two, emotion regulation and distress tolerance, these are like specific skills you can do when you are having an issue. When and so it was explained to me, and I think it's so great. So they're like, imagine the strength of your emotions on a scale from like 1 to 10. If you are functioning at that point from like 1 to 6, you use the emotion regulation skills, because those are more like you use your prefrontal cortex, you can think about shit. And if you're 7 and above, you use the distress tolerance, because you can't think through things. You're just trying to calm your body down on a physiological, uh, uh, in a physiological capacity. And so when I heard that, I was able, because I can put a number on things. So am I at an 8 right now? Okay, I am. Let me go to this chunk of skills, pick out a skill that works for me. Yes, being on high alert. Yes, I am like the jumpiest when I had a really bad um, when I first moved here, I had a really bad like run of PTSD, kind of leading into it, and then being here, and um, I um, I was so jumpy. At like I was gonna jump out of my skin at every noise. It was awful. I still have those moments when my anxiety meds aren't right, definitely. But that because I think I just exist in that. But but yeah, no, it's awful. Yeah, and you know, it it can look a lot of being stuck in survival mode can look a lot of different ways for people too, because um, if you're in it for so long and that becomes what you think is normal, or it's your normal, um, you might just experience these things all the time. For some people, it's just having tension all over your body all the time. You are so tense physically, and you start to develop physical issues because of the tense muscles that you have. You can have hypervigilance, which uh, is something that I have definitely experienced, and it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. um, and I know a lot of people with PTSD have experienced it. Um, but yeah, being in survival mode is a way to survive, but I don't think it's a great way to live. Sometimes we can't actually, a lot of the times we can't help it. And like I said, if like you grew up like that, you just don't know. that's not, that there's like other states of being, that there's an off button, that there's a, I can think things through and not react with this, lizard brain, as they call it, because it's just kind of ancient and simple. Yeah. Yeah, hypervigilance can make you jumpy. It can also make you freeze. I'm a equal opportunist when it comes to abilities. Fight or flight or freeze. Survival mode drains your spoons. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think it's important when when you're moving into a place of healing, you're going to therapy or you're talking it out or you're working through things yourself, however you're doing it. It's important to start recognizing, okay, this is, or oftentimes it's a lot easier upon reflection. Oh, hi, sweetie. It's a lot easier upon reflection to go, I was in survival mode at that point, right? Because like in the moment, you're not thinking, outside of yourself. You're so there. I won't say in the moment because that implies that you're not worrying about what comes next. But, um, it's hard to get an outside view of yourself and say, I'm in survival mode. I need to chill it out from a 10 to a 5 if I can. Let me see if I can find some really helpful infographics. Oh yeah, I just have really bad anxiety, so jump scares don't serve me well. Hi, little Scotty boy. Dude. Dude. So there's a lot of different skills. Um, and they all have like, she really likes abbreviations and stuff. Or not, what's the word that I'm looking for? Hey, Amy, welcome in. We're talking about mental health. I'm talking about DBT right now. Oh, you're good, Winter. like download the PDF. If you go, so there is a website. That has all kinds of great stuff, absolutely free. I've seen it a lot in treatment centers, and people love to use it again because it's free. So it's called therapistaid.com. I forget how to make this bigger. Like how to get rid of this window on the side. Give me 1 second. Okay, so like I said, DBT is all about like, is that like just a bunch of fucking squiggles? Looks like it doesn't. Oh, nice cones of yarn. But I'll just kind of describe it to you all because I don't think this is particularly helpful to see. But like one of the distress tolerance skills is radical acceptance. So it's just about it is like it. The phrase is like it is what it is, and um, you know, there's no positive or negative attachment to it. So like, and I think like, they give you situation, typical thinking, and then the radical acceptance way of thinking. And so the second one, I think, is kind of something we can all relate to some degree. And so the situation is you receive an untreatable medical diagnosis, and then, quote unquote, typical thinking is I'm too young for this. Everyone else gets to go about their lives, and I have to deal with this. And then the radical acceptance way of approaching this would be I have to play the cards I'm dealt. This is awful, but I'll push forward. So it's just neutralizing everything in a way that doesn't deny that it's happening. You're not hiding from what's happening. You're not like, okay, well, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm just going to push through. La, 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 la. But you're just, it is like, it is what it is. Then, and again, the the emotional, this is distress tolerance. Can I ask for emotional regulation? Anyway, so these are the ones when you're dealing with like, you can't think logically. And you just are in kind of the basis like emotions you can feel, fight or flight. And so here is self-soothe with the senses. So you go through all the 5 senses and you just really connect with those. You put all of your attention into those. And you just focus on what you can see, what you can hear, what you can touch, what you can taste, what you can smell. There's like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method of doing this, where you do like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste, anything like that. Just focusing your attention and like distracting yourself physically can really overpower your mind. Acronyms is the word I was looking for earlier. So distraction really helps me when I'm in a bad place. So activities, usually this is crocheting, contributing, volunteering, putting together something to help other people. Comparisons, everyone kind of hates this, and I think it's pretty garbage. I just think she wanted to put another C in here. So, yeah, it definitely help with dissociation, bringing you back to your body. So the comparisons, you can kind of just skip that unless you really find it helpful. I don't feel like it's helpful to be like, well, someone else has got it worse. Like that's, or like my situation could be worse. But hey, if it helps, whatever. Emotions. So doing something that'll create a competing emotion, like if you're sad, listening to happy music, watching a funny movie, something like that. Pushing negative thoughts out of your mind. Um, different ways. Thoughts, sensations. Now, my jam in the distress tolerance realm is tip. Let me find a good picture. Yeah, the comparisons are just poo-poo garbage shit. Okay, Scotty, I love you. You're an angel. You're so sweet. Okay. So for me, if I'm experiencing emotions and they're going at like this has helped me with like, you know, dodging mania or at least helping with manic episodes, just extreme emotions. So temperature, extreme change in temperature, really cold, really hot. One of the things with temperature, so they've done studies that if you, I forget how they, so if you like, you can trigger something called the dive reflex. So they did studies on like divers, and I'm gonna fucking this up. It's been a while since I've been in treatment, which I guess is a good thing. But like basically, they were focusing on like heart rate and people who were diving in cold water, and you can actually simulate this. And it has this massive like physiological and mental um, effect. So you can like fill up your sink with water, or you can splash a lot of cold water on your face. You can hold. Those are the most effective for the dive reflex. But anything to like get the the temperature, I find box breathing is really great. Yep, the breathing exercises are more in the 1 to 6 emotion level range skills. They're in DBT. Breathing skills are in DBT, uh, but they're not in the you're losing your shit, which is the distress tolerance section that I'm showing. Intense exercise. So, like all of these are really great, and you're supposed to start at the top and go down. And so, like, I usually don't get to the bottom because I like the temperature is so helpful, but sometimes sometimes I get to the exercise, the pace breathing. They do have the box breathing right here. I guess I forgot about that. I never get down there if I'm being honest, but I do like box breathing. A really good app for breathing exercises. It is called. I think I know what it's called, but I'm just gonna check. So, really helpful app because I like visual things. Because if I'm focusing, I get as many of my senses involved as possible, and that helps me. So this is Breath Ball. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so this is Breath Ball. You can choose a specific type of breathing that you want. So it's got box breathing, 478, slow COPD breathing, cardiac coherent, like those. So box breathing, you can do a tutorial on how to do it. You can change the time that you do it, and then you start. You can change the pace. And you take a breath in as it expands. And you hold. Breathe out as it goes smaller. Hold. Breathe in. Breathe out. I love this freaking app. It's so cool. It's very simple. It's not fancy. Gets what you need. Gets what you need to do done. So that's a cool. Anytime I recommend something, it's free unless I say otherwise. But I don't think I've ever recommended anything that costs money. So I like that one. If you have any app recommendations, any website recommendations, any book recommendations that have helped you with your mental health, please feel free to share those. I have other ones that I used to use. I haven't used a lot of these in a while. I like the Finch app. The Finch app is really good. If you have ADHD, if you just need someone or something saying good job, you accomplished A, B, or C today. And even if A is get out of bed and B is brush your teeth, C is take a shower. Finch is super cute. It's this little bird. You send them on little missions, and you have little tasks. Sorry, let me change my brightness. That you check off every day, or you can schedule them for like every Friday or something like that. Super cute. It's the cutest little bird, so you want to make him happy. You want to take care of him. Oh, that's nice. I like that. I also really like okay, so let me. Also, you can make friends with people and you can kind of hold people accountable, but not too much so that it feels like too much pressure. So Finch is all about self-care. And then Insight Timer. If you like to meditate, I kind of come and go with meditation. I find it a little difficult to focus my attention sometimes. So, you know, meh. But like sometimes I like it better than others. But this one has all kinds of sounds and timers and different things. Ones to help you sleep, and it's free. There's also the Calm app, which I believe is like partially paid. That's kind of similar. I know that LA Kings are playing tonight, and I kind of wanted to go to the game, but I'm not like super exhausted. Like this live is maybe not that sleepy, but I don't know if I have like a whole ass hockey game in me. You know, because like puck drop is like at 7. That's in 3 hours, and then like 2.5 hour game, whatever. So I just threw a bunch out that I like. You didn't have any apps. That's okay. I mean, some people don't like apps, and sometimes you just haven't heard of them. I will say that Finch is an app that I did not think that I would love as much as I do, and I like it's one of those things that I like recommend to everyone. Like whenever we start talking about mental health care apps, because it's just like sometimes you feel like shit that you didn't get shit done today. And then you go on Finch, and Finch is like, "Did you get out of bed?" And you're like, "I did get out of bed." Click on the thing. You're like, "Did I feed my pet?" "Yeah, I did." Ding. We can definitely do book club if you want. I don't know if Zach is still um, willing to do it. Zach usually goes on at 9 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, I really liked Finch because it just and you make the goals, right? So like you set the bar. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be I finished a crochet project every single day. I finished a whip, all the stuff. Yeah, if it stresses you out, then don't do it. Um, it's one of I think it's one of those apps that a lot of people I've introduced to, they started and weren't sure about it and they ended up liking it. But if you don't like it, that's fine. Yeah, it might be a little too late. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know if I have access to the Kings game tonight. Because they're playing here, so. Oh, the Canes are playing the Kraken. It's 6:30. Honestly, I'd kind of rather watch that if I'm not going. Okay, the Avalanche is a blackout for me. Yeah, I don't know if I like mentally have it in me to like absorb book information tonight. So maybe I might put on the Canes game in the lounge and just chill. I do want to read it. I don't want it to be something that falls off my plate. But oh, so I wanted to start asking. No solid commitments needed yet. So once we get to halfway to Halloween, so technically that's either the last day of March or the first day in April. I think I want to do 2 a week, and I'm going to be doing lives with my camera facing down, and I'm going to be making one of these patches or whatever. Oh, I finished Ghostface. Pretty happy with how he turned out. Bath and self-care time. Go you. Also tell me, does Art really need a hat? I think he does. Like, I mean, I know it's pretty identifiable by his sunglasses, but I feel like the hat's kind of necessary, but my brain just won't let me make a hat. I don't know what it is. Also, someone wants to help me make a hat if this needs a hat. But okay, what I need. So I'm going to be making, I think, 2 a week. And I would really like if someone could come up on the panel with me and help me keep track of the chat. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, everyone. So I'll be like kind of instructing and then just kind of helping me keep. It's good just like that. Okay. But yeah, helping me just keep track of the chat for, however long it takes me to make one of these. And I won't be sewing all the details I don't expect, especially not for like Billy. Like Billy, that took some time. But so not all the embroidery, just kind of how to get the gist of it. What I'm flexible with time. I am a late afternoon night person. So like I would check people's schedules. I know that like I think I might start it on the 31st, March 31st. Hey Bletzy, welcome in. So I think I might start it on the 31st. That's a Tuesday. So maybe doing like Tuesday Fridays, Tuesday Saturdays, something like that. And I can, like, if you're helping me with the chat, I'll be flexible with your timing. And yeah, we can work that out. But I don't predict that I'll be able to kind of keep up with the chat very well. I'm super happy. I was hoping to be able to crochet the eyes, but I just couldn't make them the right shape and size for his face, so I just embroidered those and his nose, but the mouth is crocheted. Got to figure out how to. I want to do the amigurumi because I did him. I did him very small, but this one's too small for the amigurumi, so I need to help with that. I need to fix that. But yeah, okay, winter, you're down for it, and like also, you can help with one. You can help with all of them. You can help like whatever your capacity to help is totally flexible. So, you know, don't feel obligated to like have to do all of them. Just I'm not saying I don't want you to, but just so you know. Um, in other news, also, Blitzy, I want to talk about hockey so much. We're gonna watch the so in 2 hours, the Canes are playing the Kraken, and I will have that on in Discord. Maybe before that, I'll put on that Behind the Storm. Not Behind the Storm. That's a different thing. The face-off behind the NHL. As long as you can crochet while you do. Oh yeah, absolutely. The Seth Jarvis one. Also, I watched the first episode of season 1, and it's nice because you get to know the players and their relationships, and like a little bit more about the players and the team dynamics and things like that. And they really like tell a really nice story of kind of literally behind the scenes, the things you don't see if you just go and see them play on the ice. So it's really nice. I was like immediately like in love with the Seth Jarvis episode, but then watching the season 1 episode 1, I was like, this show is cool. And apparently I still have Prime. I don't know how long I have Prime, so want to watch that while I can. I got my throat scan today. So they said there's always a possibility because your parathyroid glands are on the side and then your thyroid's in the middle. It's a butterfly shaped gland right here. And so there's a possibility I might have to go back if it didn't scan right. But hopefully it did, and they can see what's going on. But that happened today. And I'm like, I'm weirdly not anxious, which is weird because I get anxious about like existing, but maybe it's because like the world's fucking on fire. I don't know. I probably should be experiencing more anxiety about them scanning my throat for a tumor, but I'm not. That's part of the reason why I was like, my mental health is in a very weird place right now. I'm like either like way like I'm like so grounded that like my mental health is in a more solid place than it ever has been, or I'm just waiting for the issue to drop and I'm gonna lose my shit. Who knows? I don't think I'm gonna lose my shit like that just from in the next couple days, but day by day, right? Living in the moment mindfully. But yes, so there are 6 pinned things right now. All but one are recommendations for the mindful self-compassion workbook, app recommendations, that website recommendation if you want some worksheets to look at, some things to look at for DBT therapy or other types of therapy. Like literally they have all kinds of shit on that website that are that's totally free. The apps that I talked to you about, totally free. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't really know what else I have to say about mental health right now. I'm glad we got to talk about it when I was in experiencing a crisis, because I feel like I always bring that kind of I'm in a crisis and I got to talk about my mental health energy. And I, like I've said a million times this past 2 hours, like it's important to talk about mental health even when shit's not on fire, because it helps you deal with shit, like when shit is on fire, because it's not an if it's going to happen, it's when. So if you prepare, you're less caught off guard. We love free shit. Woo, 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 woo. And yeah. And I'm glad we can talk about this stuff. I've really loved the conversation that we have been able to have. It's okay to talk it out. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I want. And I hope I've mentioned this before, but I hope it always is known and always rings true. And that this is a safe place to talk about what's going on with you and your mental health, your physical health, things going on in your life. Like this is like this, and that is not like a community. This is a community. This is not me trying to monologue all the time, even though I do it anyways. But it's us, having a conversation where we're all safe to talk about whatever the fuck we need to. And I think that's the most important thing for me here, is to help foster and encourage that as much as possible. And I fucking love you guys because I think it's like this is everything I've wanted. Like it would be cool to have like 10,000 followers, be monetized, and like make tons of money and shit, crocheting and chit chatting. But is it definitely fucking cool that I have friends here that I can talk to about anything and they can talk to me about anything? Like, yeah, I don't take that for shit for granted. So we're gonna make cool shit soon. I know I started making them really early. I thought these were gonna take me a lot longer to make, and then I was like making like one a night, and I was like, oh, okay. I feel like I would like to make 8 so that I could have like a month's worth. Motherfucker, talking sucks. You're awesome, Amy. And you are a total angel, Amy, because not only are you a wonderful person inside and out, but you just are an incredible, compassionate angel community, and how you help people as well. So, not that you all aren't great. That's what I'm saying, but the second YouTube becomes an income generator, it no longer becomes chill or fun. Yeah, it's when all you care about is the numbers, and I think even before you become an income generator, because you work to become one. But if you only care about the numbers, you lose your fucking zest and your joy about it. I'm like very slowly working on my hours towards becoming monetized, but like honestly, like I drop so many f bombs, and I talk about the absolute worst things in my lives. I really doubt that I'm going to be pulling in a lot of money here, but like it'd be cool to have something. But it's not going to change anything, in terms of what I continue to make and stuff like that. And it's definitely one of those like when you change something from being your hobby to your job, you know, and this is my community. This is about hanging out with people and getting to know people and having valuable friendships. I'm gonna get YouTube famous and fight Jake Paul. Oh my gosh. I would pay. I would say good money, but I don't have good money. I would pay money to see that. Yeah. There's like a long list of people that I feel like would be really good on just to just get like a swift kick in the face. But unfortunately, I think the worst people are not on YouTube. So can we add some non-YouTubers to that list? I would pay good. I don't have good yarn. All my shit's value acrylic. I would pay shipping on like boxes of cat shit that I could send to famous people. Your therapist checks in with you to make sure you're crocheting for joy and that the YouTube doesn't turn into a job. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. Pay Nation. I don't know what you're gonna do. I have a friend. My friend that I played Magic with the other day. Um, the one who's really good. He when I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, we didn't see each other that much because he lived in Raleigh. It's like 3 hours away. And one time he was like, "What's your address?" And I gave him my address. I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "Don't worry about it." And so I totally forgot about it. And then like a month later, I got a package like from a nondescript place, and it was a gummy bag of dicks, and it just said, "Eat a bag of dicks." You can do that. I also know that there's ones that like you can send people like a sealed envelope, and when you Winter, can you play Magic the Gathering Arena? It's free. It's free, baby. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm playing for totally free. Although I am thinking about buying the Turtles pizza box because it looks so cool. But then I have to go out and play with people, and I like playing with people in person. But uh, but I'm not good at getting out because the whole agoraphobia. That's a whole different. Irrational fears are a whole different mess when it comes to mental health. I could maybe. I'll consider it. Yeah, you can play it on your phone. It does take up a lot of space on your phone, but you can play it on your phone. You can also play it on your laptop or tablet, whatever you got. If you got something like that, so that's nice. And you get packs for like achievements and like certain number of matches and wins and all kinds of stuff like leveling up. So yeah, I don't know. I managed to be really lucky with the ones that I had been to. Um and like this was all like pre-transition and I found like it was fine. Now I'm in LA and I feel like everybody's at least a little bit gay here. so like so probably wouldn't be as weird as like a trading card game um store in the South. In my experience, I had a lot harder time with comic book shops, which that was really weird because like I was into comics way before I was into trading cards, and like all of the comic book shops were small, and then like I would walk in and it would be like record scratch, and like everyone would turn and look at me and just like freeze, and I'd be like, and I'm a fucking awkward person, so I'd be like, everyone's like looking at me now, and so I'm like trying to like, how do I move? How do I walk again? And I'm like, move this arm, move this arm, move this arm. So I always found in my experience is that the Magic community has been very welcoming to me. So I'm sorry to hear that it's not been welcoming to other people. Now, the thing is, I also don't play competitively. Um, so I'm sure that that's where it moves into a different territory. Like I never like I've been to PTQs, but I've not played in a PTQ. I've just gone to support my friend. Lack of hygiene. Oh yeah. Under chemical warfare. Do you remember a couple years ago? Oh, actually, it was more than 10 years ago. It wasn't a couple years ago. Fucking old. When like that guy went to, I think it was a PTQ or something. It was some tournament, and like took a picture. It was like taking like a selfie, but like there were like butt cracks like everywhere. Do you remember that? Also, there is a distinct difference in stores that let Yu-Gi-Oh players play. I'm sorry, I gotta be the one to say it. Yu-Gi-Oh players are the worst in my experience. And that was coming like I used to work as a gaming a store is not really the right word for it. Gaming lounge is what it was. And uh like we didn't let people like we didn't have like Yu-Gi-Oh events. Like people could come and play Yu-Gi-Oh if they were respectful, but like we would not have events. We did F&M, we did all that stuff. Like we did not have that. And then the comic book shop that I like for a while I did like a comic book podcast. I have a weird like I've had like 20 fucking lives. But not saying that to brag, just saying how weird my life is. And like the comic book shop where I said everyone paused and looked at me was this shop. First boyfriend won me. Well, you are a prize. But that doesn't surprise me. Yu-Gi-Oh's it breeds a certain type of player. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know how Yu-Gi-Oh is played even. Now he's come out as gay and he is bi. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's just a special type of person. Like, oh yeah, but the comic book shop, so they had F&M, they had Magic, they had all this stuff, but they also had Yu-Gi-Oh nights, and like literally just they tear up the bathrooms. There'd be shit on the walls, like literal fucking shit on the walls. In third grade, a guy traded his girlfriend for a pack of Taco Bell hot sauce. In defense of him, Taco Bell hot sauce is the shit. I said what I said. Although I don't know if I would trade any of my significant others for one. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. Hot sauce is rad. You've never been to Taco Bell? Did they not have them in Canada? Or are you just missing out on the best things in life? We don't have that many Taco Bells in my vicinity because there's things like Del Taco and there's El Pollo Loco and stuff, but it's not Taco Bell. And I know that like maybe in theory some of these are better in theory to some people with wrong opinions, but Taco Bell is king. I love Taco Bell and I will fuck up some Taco Bell. So, I wonder. I wonder. Taco Bell's good. Very like ARFID friendly, in my opinion. Can confirm. Oh yeah, Blizzy, I forgot you. There are Canadian Taco Bells, but they aren't common. We had like a reasonable amount in North Carolina. There's a good wide selection of fast food. I guess there's a good wide selection of fast food everywhere. What am I saying? I really like Taco. Now I want Taco Bell. You guys suck. Or you all suck. Sorry. I keep saying you guys, and I apologize. It comes out of my mouth, and then I'm like, stuff it back in, stuff it back in. I love Taco Bell. Like the things I would do for a quesarito right now, like you don't even know. You don't even know. So good. I went to this place that I've been really wanting to go to for a long time. One, because I'm a fucking weird nerd and don't judge me. I read fanfic. I've talked about this a lot, so like most of you know, anyways, it's not surprising. But there, in one of fanfic, it was based in LA, and they referenced this place called Egg Slut. And I was like, one, the fanfic is one of my favorites. So I wanted to go to all the places that they referenced in um, the fic. But also the name is hilarious. And guess who got to go there today? First time. Excellent. And they were playing like metal. It was like the most, and it's in Beverly Hills. First of all, I don't live in Beverly Hills. I don't live near Beverly Hills. It's not all like what it shows on TV. Like part of it is like mansions and shit, but part of it's just like office buildings. Because I went to the doctor today. The Mexican pizza. Everything that has the word slut in it is me. Oh yeah, me too. Egg slut. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Also, I do love eggs. It's one of my favorite foods. It's so versatile. It does so much. The worst thing about being told Beverly Hills is a fictional place created by Weezer to sell albums. Exactly. I can't know that I'm going to Beverly Hills without that song immediately popping into my head. Oh, I saw this thing that, okay, if you are ADHD, what song do you have in your head right now? Please let me know. Because I saw this thing where it's like, if you have ADHD, you probably have a song stuck in your head right now. And like, I know you do. That's why I was like, you probably wouldn't like Egg Slut. Literally everything is eggs in it. But the vibe is cool. The vibe is cool. I don't know that song. I'll have to listen to it. Well, I clearly have Beverly Hills stuck in my head because it was put there. Um, but yeah, LA is just a bunch of small cities that make up LA, which is pretty much most places. But I realized that when I came to LA the first time, and then when my dad came to visit, he was like, "Oh, LA is nothing like it is in like on TV." He's like, "You can go places and it's like that. Like you go to Sunset Boulevard and you see like Whiskey a Go Go and shit like that. But or you go to the Walk of Fame and like it's like that. But all like I live near MacArthur Park and that's like fentanyl Lake City. It's not like it's on TV. It's like The Walking Dead." The song in this immediate moment. My head's on. Living on a Prayer. Classic. Classic. 80s goth rock. I go to sleep listening to the same Pandora station every night because I need consistency, but I also need variety. So I just like listen to that, and or I put on like Inside by Bo Burnham on Netflix, and I just let Bo Burnham and his beautiful voice, Feliz Navidad, stuck in my head for a year. I get that. I get that. Um, one of it wasn't that one. Oh, it was the Paul McCartney "Simply having one. But it was just like just the two words, simply having, but like over and over, simply having, but like over and over and over again for fucking 2 months. And people were like, "Why don't you like Christmas?" And I'm like, "It's not Halloween, and I have these songs stuck in my head. I'm pissed about it." Yeah, always a song stuck in my head. Just a nice little backtrack for whatever backing track for whatever I've got going on. But yeah, Christmas songs are made to just drill into your dome. How long is this episode of Face Off? This has been a very trying week for me as a queer trans hockey fan. 2 weeks, I should say. It's been a lot. Okay, so the Seth Jarvis episode is 40 minutes. Um, if you haven't been keeping up, I will not recap all of it. It's just been a lot. I'm sure you've seen at least this much of it, and it's just. I think the I think the NHL could benefit so much from just fucking like letting go of all of these with like tight lip, no response to these types of events, and just like letting the league evolve. But what do I know? Blitzy, have you seen Face Off? I hadn't even. I think I had like seen it, but I was like, "There's. I'm watching too much hockey. I can't. I can't. I can't." But then I was watching. I was reading something. I think like on Threads, where someone was like, "Is Seth Jarvis a good like they just wanted to get like a vibe check on Seth Jarvis because I guess well I know because it was there were a lot of hockey players that people had a lot of feelings about in the past couple weeks, and everyone in the comments was like, Seth Jarvis is a baby angel, um, and uh, and then someone mentioned this particular episode of Face Off, where they focus just on watching Minnesota versus St. Louis last night. I think I saw that Minnesota won. Am I correct in that? I know you're kind of hockeyed out. If I recall, I believe I recall you saying that you're kind of hockeyed out, which I freaking understand. Because I made a vow to myself that I was gonna watch the Paralympics, bucket hockey or whatever they call it, and oh, okay, never mind. I thought I thought Minnesota's been doing pretty well, and I don't. I guess I don't really follow uh, the Blues at all. At all. Welcome back, Winter. But yeah, I've been like, I'm gonna support everyone equally in the Olympics and the Paralympics. I'm gonna keep doing this. And now I'm like, I am so hockeyed out. And there's so many games, so many fucking games. And Carolina's doing a road trip right now, and they're about to play their first Game of the Road Trip. You're called by Secondhand. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Winter, that song brought me back to a place. I was in a band for a minute when I was a senior in high school, and my guitarist played that song incessantly. Incessantly. He was so excited he learned it. And he just played it all the fucking time. And I was just like, that brought me back to a specific moment. I've been called up pretty much every other night to play that. Oh, cool. I put on a ton of pressure on myself, and it's just how I perform my best. So when I take the gear off, I don't want to look at hockey. That makes a lot of sense. Winter. My ex sent it to me when I was like 16. Yeah, it's definitely like a sad sex song. Yeah. My guitarist was also like hella emo. Like I was into emo music, but I was not an emo. I would not say. Some people might like look at me and call me an emo. I say fully wearing a Fall Out Boy t-shirt, but Fall Out Boy is not really emo. But oh my gosh, like oh my gosh, he was big time into the sad songs. So how often do you usually play or like have a game? Let's see. I was so emo at 16. I don't know if I've ever like cleanly fallen into a category. Just kind of alternative generally. 17 I was seeing. Yeah. I was thinking about going to the Kings game tonight. Because like I live like really close to the arena. Um, I know the Kings are struggling and like they just had their general manager change and shit's probably gonna be a shit show. And they have, 200 forwards, but I'm in two hockey leagues that play once a week and indoor baseball league that plays twice on Saturdays. I play for money if other teams need a goalie. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I bet that makes sense. Look at how much mental energy I have at a time, given time. Yeah, I'm like running on fumes so much right now. It's just I would be so bad as a goalie that they would like teams would play me not to be their goalie. I mean, like we will pay you to sit down, and we will have an empty net. You are a straight up liability to us. But I did want to see the Avalanche play because I know they're top of the league right now, and just obviously demolishing the West, and Carolina is second in the league and So I wanted to kind of see what we're up against, you know. Not that it's quite the same, but I just kind of want to see it. Never do makeup anymore, which is kind of sad. I've been really wanting to do makeup too, but I have no fucking energy. I don't have fucking energy to do anything. So it's like, that's the last thing. But I did order from Notoriously Morbid, which I know I found out from you. But I ordered from them in December, and it was right after the cutoff date of like getting it done by Christmas. But then the owner had some like health problems, and like they basically stopped producing anything, and they just shipped my shit out today, like literally today. Yay, abs! Yeah, so I really wanted to go see the abs today. Like they're right down the fucking road. But I'm too pooped. I didn't sleep last night, like literally. Um, I tell people that playing net is like just organized falling. That's, you know, makes sense. Can you do the splits? I'm always impressed with the splits. I mean, I think everyone's always impressed with the splits. If I did a split, period, I would never get out of that position unless they just started removing my whole leg. Organized falling. That's very accurate. Yeah, I've used two of their lipsticks before. I really like them, which is why I reordered them because they are fucking in North Carolina, with the Hicks, and I like wanted to have some again, and I ordered some other things, but they just have had some issues with. So I tried to be gentle with them, but like also it was like it's still like it's been 2 months. So it says off the toe hurts like hell. Oh shit, I bet. The black was good, but they had this color called it was like Have No Fear or something or whatever. And it was like a dark blue gray, and it was my favorite. It looked so good on me. I might have gotten the black too at this time because I know I got the black last time because I just needed because I'm phasing out an old black liquid lipstick made by a fucking terrible human being. The Avs are doing amazing this year. You are absolutely correct. They are dominating. They are top of the league. Let's look at some numbers. Holograve. Yeah, I've gotten some Holograve liquid, not liquid, gel liners, no cream liners, gel liners. Sorry, I just had like a quadruple take. And Duke's playing State. I haven't tried their liquid lipsticks. I do like Sunset Makeup's black liquid lipstick. It's really good. I want to try some other stuff that they have, but I'm like, if I'm not wearing makeup, I'm not going to buy any. There's no point. Okay, so let's see. Can you imagine what would happen if the Kings beat the Avalanche tonight? It would be the most bizarre fucking thing. That's not going to happen though. But, stranger things have happened. Yeah, I think for cream or for gel liners, I think Holograve is good, and they do have a wide range of colors. Okay, so let's look at the league standings. I don't think it's changed. Okay, it's a little bit. Okay, so Colorado leads in points. All of this is in points. Leads the league in 87 points. Carolina's second at 82. Dallas Stars at 81. Tampa Bay and Minnesota are both at 80. So that's top 5 right there. Carolina beat the Lightning the other night, which was pretty cool. pretty freaking cool. Yeah, I got the black liner, and then I got this, like, she says it's yellow, but it looks like pea soup green, which is my favorite, and it's a little disappointing, if I'm being honest. The green is, but whatever. So yeah, those are the standings. I look at these so much like a crazy person. LA Kings moved up because they beat the other day. They beat somebody. Anywho, sports and things are happening. What time did I say that game was on? Okay, it says 6:30, but I think that's just the time the broadcast starts. I think puck drop is at 7. Yeah, 7. Yeah, red graphic liners, cool. When I took that picture of myself at Egg Slut, I was like, I look like fucking garbage. Okay, night, Budsy. Okay, so I'm going to move from YouTube to Discord. I'm going to put on that episode of Face Off and have it on. I've already seen it, but I just think it's really good. And it ties into what we're talking about today because it's about mental health and Seth Jarvis talking about it. He's on the Hurricanes, and he just seems like a really nice guy, which honestly, like, maybe it's the pansexual in me, but when people are like nice people, I'm like, I love you. But not like that with Seth. Just like it means a lot when people seem like nice people. But this one's about he touches on mental health, so it's appropriate for this. So that'll be on, and then that's 40 minutes, and then I'll put that on, and then maybe I'll just like let another episode play or whatever until the game starts. So if you want to watch that, go to Discord. I am going to I'm going to share the Discord in case you don't know. I think everyone here knows the Discord, but even if you don't like hockey, I think the big the I think I don't want to say it wrong if I could just look at it. So the episode's called Good Enough, and like basically like his thing is like never good enough, and like if you have these feelings like you're just never good enough, then I think you can relate even if you're not into the hockey of it all. Um, that's really what matters if someone is a good person. Absolutely. And he just seems like a sweet little baby angel who's just he struggles with a lot of negative self-talk, and kind of gets in his own head with that. And a lot of people, you have a lot of testimonials of like people around him who are like, if he didn't talk to himself like this, he would be better, or he could like break through like this like level that he's at right now and get to another level. So and he just seems like a cool guy. So I'm gonna watch that on Discord. Feel free to join me if you want. And then at 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm like, Pacific. Pacific. I'm going to turn on the Canes game with the Kraken. So hopefully we can, and like I think the Canes are on like a 10 or 11 game winning streak. So it's pretty good winning streak. Hopefully we can keep it going. If you don't want to watch any of that because you don't care about hockey, then cool. That's fine. I was about to be like, well, fuck off. But you don't have to do that. Anyways, thanks for talking about mental health. It was a good conversation. I know we kind of just did our own thing at the end, which I totally am down for. But anywho, love y'all. Bye.